So James Harden in his game, again after the hangover game on Monday, where clearly in the second half he lost all of his steam. I think Harden struggles with teams like this, the Orlando Magic, the same way he struggled in the playoffs last year with the Toronto Raptors, guys that are 6'11", that can switch everything. They can really eliminate the pick and roll. They can really, there's points where he's ISOing 7'5" Bol. You know what I mean? It's just so many weird matchups for Harden, and he struggles with that. But in this game, I was saying in the first half, here's I thought he was struggling a little bit with them switching on all the screens, and he kind of runs out of options. But the second half, he really came around. He had 16 points in the second half. He was 4 for 6 from three in the second half, which is massive, especially, again, when a team's trying to do everything they can to stop Joel Embiid. That's the dynamic that Joel Embiid's missed his whole career, is another guy. Joel has gotten so much scrutiny, and he's not free from all scrutiny. He definitely has games where, what the hell are you doing? Or come on, where's the effort? But for the most part, in the biggest games in the playoffs, you go back to the Toronto Raptors game where they held him to 1 point, and this guy was trying to play with a point guard that was not a threat from the perimeter for 5 years. So he finally has James Harden. He finally has not a superstar anymore, but he's on an MVP list. He's still an elite facilitator. And if his three-point shot, he's shooting a three better than he has since 2011 right now. So that's just massive to go from a guy that is terrified to even take a shot to a guy that is one of the best facilitators, one of the best passers I've ever seen, and is a 40% three-point shooter right now. So I just think Joel finally has that guy, and if James can keep this level of play going, this is really all you need from James Harden, in my opinion. The 25-point triple-double. And in the fourth quarter, when things get tight and they start throwing the kitchen sink at Joel Embiid, you know what I mean? We need you to do something. We need you to step up and make something happen. And he did it tonight, 16 points in the second half, 4 for 6 from three. So James Harden, keep doing what you're doing, man. What do you guys think about James in this game?
Yeah, it was awesome. He's kind of just been that guy this year, and a huge step forward for me that I've seen is him looking more comfortable off the catch and shoot. That's a huge deal for a guy that has actively run away from it at points, and even last season after coming to the Sixers, looked super uncomfortable whenever the opportunity came. He just is more natural off his step back, which obviously is patented move, but that hasn't fully been the case. He knocked down 2 catch and shoot ones tonight. He's willing, and especially when teams are going to throw the house at Embiid, those looks are there. And if Harden can capitalize on them, that's massive. And so much of his game, we talked about this, James, a lot, but it's it feels like it's either a good or a bad game for Harden, depending on whether those 3-pointers go in. And tonight, he was 6 for 10. It was awesome. It was a weird game for Harden because he had the 7 turnovers, but he had, I think, none in the fourth quarter. Definitely none in the fourth quarter. So he kind of cut it out in crunch time. And I'm also going to kind of take that just based on a lot of them were him trying the high risk kind of deep outlet passes, which are basically how his version of kind of picking up the pace. He's never going to be a super pacey guy, but he can just kind of have that outlet pass that opens things up. And when it works, it's super effective and big time. So I'll take him going out shooting. And I've been very happy with the version of James Harden that we've seen this year. And if this continues in the postseason, I think the Sixers are in pretty good shape.
Yeah, I've absolutely been loving what I've seen from Harden this year. It's really nice to root for him when he's playing like this. It's a lot of fun. I feel like we haven't had that guard that's been able to do this. Obviously, Maxey to a different level, but Harden's an all-star this year, man. He's almost 8 attempts per game, and he's shooting nearly 40% from three. It's lovely to watch because we just haven't had that presence before, and even later in the year last year, we had glimpses of it. Even into the playoffs with the Heat game where he went off in the fourth quarter and he had those type of runs. It's been pretty consistent this year where when the Heat is on Joel, when they're double or triple teaming Joel, he's been able to really take over. When the game is basically handed over to him, he's been able to handle it really well himself. So, as a facilitator, you see him basically control the game and the pace of the game in the first half, and then seeing in the second half him being able to take over and make tough shots, and him expanding the repertoire from almost exclusively off the dribble threes to Sean, you pointed out multiple catch and shoot tonight, which is essential to him kind of fitting into the offense as a scorer, averaging over 11 assists per game. I've just been super happy to see what he's been able to do this year. And when we talked about how disrespected Joel Embiid has been over his career the last couple years as a superstar. James Harden fits in that category just as well. And so it's really nice to see them kind of both find that bond there, and they've been really playing well off of each other. So just really nice to watch, and another great game from Harden tonight where he was able to finish it off with a couple of threes late in the fourth quarter.